Neymar leaves $10,000 tip for Waitress, her reaction goes viral. The bustling sounds of the beachside cafe filled the air, clinking glasses, waves crashing in the distance, and the faint hum of a guitar being played by a street performer outside. It was a warm summer evening, and the place was alive with energy. Tourists and locals alike crowded the tables, the golden glow of the setting sun casting long shadows across the sand. Among the chaos, Sophia darted between tables, her tray balanced precariously with plates of seafood and drinks. She moved with the kind of practiced ease that came from years of working double shifts. Her dark curls were tied up into a loose bun, and despite the exhaustion etched on her face, she greeted every customer with a smile. Her life had been a constant juggle between work and raising her younger brother, Lucas, ever since their parents had passed away. At just 23, she had become his sole provider, doing whatever it took to keep them afloat. She approached table 9, a group of tourists who were laughing loudly and snapping selfies. "Here you go," Sophia said, setting down their orders. "Fish tacos and 2 mojitos. Let me know if you need anything else." "Thanks, sweetheart," one of the women replied, barely looking up from her phone. Sophia gave a polite nod and turned to head back to the kitchen when she noticed a man sitting alone at a corner table by the window. His face was partially obscured by a baseball cap and sunglasses, but there was something familiar about him. The man seemed to be deliberately avoiding attention, keeping his head low as he scrolled through his phone. He wore a casual white t-shirt and jeans, blending in with the laid-back atmosphere of the cafe. Sophia hesitated for a moment, her curiosity piqued, before making her way over. "Good evening," she said, pulling out her notepad. "Welcome to Oceanside Cafe. Can I get you started with something to drink?" The man looked up briefly, and Sophia caught a glimpse of his face. Her heart skipped a beat. It couldn't be Neymar. She wasn't a die-hard soccer fan, but even she couldn't mistake the face of one of the most famous athletes in the world. "Just water, please," Neymar replied, his voice calm and low. Sophia nodded, her expression carefully neutral. If he was trying to stay under the radar, she wasn't about to blow his cover. "Of course. I'll be right back." As she filled his glass behind the counter, Sophia's mind raced. What was Neymar doing here, in this tiny beachside cafe? Should she say something? Ask for a picture? No, she decided. The last thing he needed was someone fawning over him. He deserved to enjoy his meal in peace. When she returned to his table, Neymar smiled faintly as she set the glass down. "Thank you." "You're welcome," she replied. "Do you need a few more minutes to look at the menu?" "Yes, please," he said. "Take your time. No rush." Sophia nodded and walked away, giving him the space he clearly wanted. But as she attended to her other tables, she couldn't help but glance over at him occasionally. There was something different about the way he carried himself. He wasn't the flashy, larger-than-life celebrity she'd seen on TV. Here, he seemed almost quiet, reflective. Minutes later, Neymar signaled that he was ready to order. Sophia approached his table, her notepad at the ready. "I'll have the grilled salmon," he said. "And, can I also get a side of fries?" "Good choice," Sophia replied, jotting it down. "Anything else?" "No, that'll be all. Thank you." As she placed his order with the kitchen, Sophia found herself wondering what brought him here. Was he on vacation? Had he come to escape the pressures of fame? Whatever the reason, she respected his privacy and resisted the urge to ask. The cafe grew busier as the evening went on, and Sophia found herself running from table to table. But she made sure to check on Neymar periodically, refilling his water and ensuring he had everything he needed. He was polite and gracious, thanking her each time. When his food arrived, Neymar took his time eating, savoring each bite as he gazed out at the ocean. Sophia noticed how he seemed lost in thought, his posture relaxed but his expression introspective. It was as if the world outside didn't exist for him in that moment. As the crowd began to thin out, Neymar signaled for the check. Sophia brought it over promptly, her heart racing slightly as she placed it on the table. "Whenever you're ready," she said with a smile. "Thank you," Neymar replied, pulling out his wallet. He slipped some cash into the check holder and handed it back to her. "Have a good night." "You too," Sophia said, taking the check holder and heading back to the counter. She opened it to count the payment, and her breath caught in her throat. Inside was $10,000 in cash. Sophia's hands trembled as she stared at the stack of crisp bills. Her first thought was that it had to be a mistake. But then she noticed the folded piece of paper tucked inside. She unfolded it carefully, her eyes scanning the handwritten note. "Thank you for your kindness and for letting me enjoy a quiet evening. I hope this helps in some way. Neymar." Sophia's heart pounded as tears welled up in her eyes. She clutched the note tightly, her mind racing. This wasn't just a tip, it was a lifeline. The medical bills for Lucas's asthma treatments, the overdue rent, the countless nights she'd spent worrying about how to make ends meet, it all flashed before her eyes. Jamie, one of her co-workers, noticed her standing frozen at the counter and hurried over. "Sophia, are you okay? What's wrong?" She turned to him, her voice shaking. He left this." She held up the cash and the note. Jamie's eyes widened as he took it in. "No way. Is this real?" Sophia nodded, tears streaming down her face. "He didn't even say anything. He just left it." Jamie let out a low whistle, shaking his head in disbelief. "That's incredible, Sophia. What are you going to do?" "I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't even know how to process this." The rest of the staff gathered around as word spread, their reactions ranging from astonishment to pure joy. But Sophia felt overwhelmed. She wasn't used to being the center of attention, and the weight of Neymar's generosity was almost too much to bear. As the night came to an end, Sophia sat alone at one of the empty tables, staring at the note. She thought about Neymar's quiet demeanor, the way he had carried himself with humility despite being one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. She realized that his act of kindness wasn't just about the money, it was about acknowledging her, seeing her, in a way that few people ever did. Taking a deep breath, Sophia made a silent vow. She would use this gift to build a better future for herself and Lucas. And she would find a way to thank Neymar, even if she never saw him again. Sophia woke up the next morning with a mix of disbelief and gratitude swirling in her chest. The events of the previous night felt like a dream, surreal, almost too good to be true. Yet the neatly stacked bills and Neymar's handwritten note were real, sitting right there on her bedside table. She sat up in bed and glanced across the room at Lucas, still fast asleep. His small chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm, his face peaceful in the glow of the early morning sun. Sophia's heart swelled as she thought about what this gift would mean for him. No more agonizing over medical bills. No more borrowing money to cover their rent. For the first time in years, she felt a sense of relief, a chance to breathe. But even as the relief settled in, a nagging thought lingered at the back of her mind. She didn't know how to thank Neymar. He'd left quietly, without fanfare, as if he didn't want or expect anything in return. That humility only made her more determined to find a way to express her gratitude. As Lucas stirred awake, Sophia forced a smile and greeted him warmly. "Good morning, sleepyhead." "Morning, Sophie," Lucas mumbled, rubbing his eyes. He looked up at her, his expression brightening. "Do I still have soccer practice today?" "Yes," she said, ruffling his curls. "And this time, I'll even have time to stay and watch. What do you think about that?" Lucas grinned, and Sophia felt a small pang in her chest. She couldn't remember the last time she had been able to attend one of his practices. Her shifts at the cafe always seemed to get in the way, but things could be different now. Neymar's gesture had given her more than financial relief, it had given her the freedom to be present for her brother. After breakfast, Sophia dropped Lucas off at practice and watched from the sidelines as he ran across the field, his energy infectious. He had always idolized soccer players, and Neymar was one of his favorites. She thought about telling Lucas what had happened at the cafe, but she decided to wait. It wasn't the kind of story she wanted to rush through, it deserved to be shared thoughtfully, at the right moment. When practice ended, Lucas bounded over, beaming with excitement. "Did you see my goal, Sophie? It was just like Neymar's." "I did." "You were amazing," she said, pulling him into a hug. "I'm so proud of you." As they walked home together, Sophia's phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced at the screen and saw a message from Jamie. "Sophia, you're not going to believe this, word about Neymar's tip is everywhere. The cafe's Instagram blew up overnight. Call me when you can." Sophia stopped in her tracks, her heart skipping a beat. "What's wrong?" Lucas asked, tugging at her hand. "Nothing, sweetie," Sophia replied quickly, tucking her phone into her pocket. "Let's get home first, okay?" Once they were back at their small apartment and Lucas was distracted by a soccer highlights reel on TV, Sophia called Jamie. "What's going on?" she asked as soon as he picked up. "Have you checked Instagram?" Jamie asked, his voice practically vibrating with excitement. "Someone must have posted about Neymar's visit. People are talking about it everywhere. Customers are coming in just to see the table he sat at. It's wild." Sophia sank onto the couch, her head spinning. "I didn't expect this," she admitted. I thought it would just be between us." "Apparently not," Jamie said with a laugh. "But hey, don't stress. This is a good thing. It's bringing attention to the cafe, and people are saying such nice things about you." "Seriously, Sophia, check the comments." After the call, Sophia hesitated before opening Instagram. Sure enough, the cafe's page was flooded with new followers and comments. Someone had snapped a photo of Neymar sitting at his table and posted it with the caption, "When Neymar leaves a $10,000 tip for our amazing waitress." Kindness at its finest. The post had gone viral, with thousands of likes and shares. The comments were a mix of admiration for Neymar's generosity and praise for Sophia's hard work. But there were also questions. People wanted to know more about her, about the cafe, about what she planned to do with the money. Sophia felt a wave of unease. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. Her life had always been quiet, ordinary. Being thrust into the spotlight, even for something positive, felt overwhelming. Later that evening, after Lucas had gone to bed, Sophia sat alone at the kitchen table, staring at Neymar's note. She knew she couldn't ignore the viral post. It was only a matter of time before people started reaching out to her directly. But she wasn't sure how to handle it. Her phone buzzed again, this time with an email notification. She opened it cautiously, her eyes widening as she read the sender's name, Messi Management Team. The email was short and to the point. "Dear Sophia, Lionel Neymar shared your story with us, and we were deeply moved. He has asked us to extend his gratitude for your kindness and professionalism during his visit. While he values his privacy and does not typically engage in public follow-ups, he wanted you to know how much he appreciated the peaceful evening you provided. Additionally, if you are open to it, Neymar would like to donate an additional $10,000 to a cause of your choice in your name. Please let us know if you would like to proceed and provide details of the organization you would like to support. Warm regards. Neymar Management Team." Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Another $10,000? And for her to choose where it went? She felt a mixture of awe and responsibility. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was an opportunity to make a difference. She spent the next few days researching local charities, particularly those that supported single-parent families or youth soccer programs. She wanted the donation to go somewhere it would truly make an impact. Finally, she settled on a small non-profit that provided free soccer training and equipment to underprivileged kids in her community. It felt right, a way to honor Lucas's love for the sport and Neymar's incredible generosity. She replied to the email with her choice, her hands shaking as she typed. As she hit send, a sense of calm washed over her. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she was part of something bigger than herself. The days that followed were a whirlwind. The cafe continued to see an influx of customers, many of whom asked to sit at Neymar's table. Sophia did her best to stay grounded, focusing on her work and her family. She kept Neymar's note tucked safely in her wallet, a constant reminder of the kindness that had changed her life. One evening, as she and Lucas sat on the couch watching a soccer match, Lucas turned to her with a curious look. "Sophie, do you think Neymar knows about me?" Sophia smiled, brushing a curl from his forehead. "I don't know, Lucas. But if he does, I think he'd be really proud of you." Lucas grinned and turned back to the screen, his eyes alight with dreams of the future. Sophia watched him, her heart full. Neymar's gesture had done more than lift her out of a difficult situation, it had reignited her hope, her belief in the goodness of people. And for that, she would always be grateful. As the weeks passed, Sophia found herself navigating a strange new reality. The cafe was busier than ever, with people from across the city stopping by to catch a glimpse of the now famous Neymar table. Some customers came to share kind words with Sophia, while others simply wanted to snap a photo of the spot where the soccer legend had dined. It was surreal, and though she felt a bit overwhelmed by the attention, Sophia couldn't deny the warmth she felt from the outpouring of support. One morning, as she prepared for her shift, Lucas bounded into the kitchen, holding his tablet. "Sophie! Look at this," he exclaimed, thrusting the device toward her. Sophia took the tablet and saw a video clip playing. It was a news segment about Neymar's viral tip. The reporter spoke with enthusiasm, describing how his act of generosity had inspired countless people to pay it forward. There were interviews with cafe customers, staff members, and even a few local celebrities who had visited the spot in the days following the event. Lucas beamed as he watched the screen. "Do you think Neymar will come back someday?" Sophia smiled, brushing a hand through his curls. "I don't know, sweetheart. But even if he doesn't, what he did for us will always mean so much." Lucas's eyes sparkled with excitement. "He's the coolest. I'm going to practice every day until I can play like him." Sophia laughed softly, pulling him into a hug. "You already have something even more important than his skills, Lucas. You have his heart. Kindness is what makes him truly great." At work that afternoon, Sophia was greeted by a familiar buzz of activity. Customers filled the cafe, and her co-workers were bustling about, balancing trays and taking orders. Jamie waved at her from the counter. "Hey, Sophia. You're just in time. Table 6 asked for you specifically." Sophia's brows furrowed as she tied her apron around her waist. "Asked for me? Who is it?" Jamie shrugged. "Some guy in a suit. Looks important." Curious, Sophia approached table 6, where a man in his 40s sat with a tablet and a small leather notebook. He wore a sharp gray suit, his demeanor calm but professional. As she neared the table, he looked up and smiled. "Sophia, right?" he said, extending a hand. "My name is Carlos Mendez. I work with Neymar's management team." Sophia blinked in surprise, shaking his hand cautiously. "Yes, that's me. Is everything okay?" Carlos chuckled. "Everything is more than okay. I'm here on behalf of Neymar. He wanted me to personally thank you for how you handled everything and to follow up on the donation you chose. He's very happy with your decision." Sophia felt her cheeks flush. I'm honored. It's a wonderful organization, and it means a lot to me to be able to support them." Carlos nodded, pulling out his notebook. "That's actually why I'm here. Neymar wants to take this a step further. He's planning to host a charity soccer event in the city next month, and he'd like you and Lucas to be his guests." Sophia's jaw dropped. "A charity event? With Neymar?" Carlos smiled warmly. "That's right. It'll be a family-friendly event, with games, live music, and, of course, a soccer match featuring Neymar and some of his closest friends. He wanted to extend the invitation to you personally. Lucas will even have the chance to meet Neymar in person if you're interested." Sophia could hardly believe what she was hearing. Her mind raced as she imagined Lucas's reaction. "Yes, of course," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "We'd love to be there." "Wonderful," Carlos said, sliding a sleek envelope across the table. "Here are the details. We'll take care of everything, transportation, accommodations, even some goodies for Lucas. Neymar really wanted to make this special for both of you." Sophia clutched the envelope, her heart pounding. "Thank you. Please tell Neymar how much this means to us." Carlos nodded, standing to leave. "I'll be in touch with more details soon. Have a great day, Sophia." As he walked out, Sophia sat down at the table, staring at the envelope in her hands. She could hardly contain her excitement. This wasn't just about her anymore, it was about Lucas. The thought of him meeting his hero filled her with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. That evening, she shared the news with Lucas over dinner. His reaction was everything she had hoped for. His eyes widened, his fork clattering onto his plate as he practically leapt out of his chair. "Are you serious?" he shouted, his voice brimming with joy. "I get to meet Neymar?" Sophia laughed, tears of happiness streaming down her face. "Yes, Lucas. We get to meet him." Lucas ran around the small kitchen, pumping his fists in the air. "This is the best day of my life." In the weeks leading up to the event, Sophia and Lucas prepared eagerly. Lucas practiced his soccer moves every day, determined to impress Neymar, while Sophia focused on the practical details, making sure they were ready for the big day. The closer it got, the more real it felt, and Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that this was the start of something incredible. When the day of the event finally arrived, Sophia and Lucas were picked up by a sleek black car sent by Neymar's team. Lucas could hardly sit still during the ride, his excitement bubbling over as he peppered Sophia with questions. "Do you think Neymar will teach me a trick? What should I say to him? Do you think he'll like my jersey?" Sophia smiled, her heart full. "Just be yourself, Lucas. That's all you need to do." The venue was a massive stadium, buzzing with energy. Families filled the stands, and kids ran around with soccer balls, their laughter echoing through the air. Sophia held Lucas's hand tightly as they made their way inside, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the event. A member of Neymar's team greeted them and led them to a special seating area near the field. As they settled in, Sophia marveled at the thoughtfulness that had gone into the event. There were activities for kids, food stands, and a stage set up for live music. It was a celebration of community and kindness, and Sophia felt honored to be part of it. The highlight of the day came when Neymar himself appeared on the field, greeted by thunderous applause. Lucas's face lit up as he saw his hero in person for the first time, and Sophia couldn't help but feel a lump in her throat as she watched him. This moment was everything she had hoped for and more. After the match, Neymar approached their seating area, his smile warm and genuine. "Lucas," he said, kneeling down to meet him at eye level. "I've heard a lot about you." Lucas stared at him in awe, his mouth opening and closing as he struggled to find words. Finally, he managed to squeak out, "You're my hero." Neymar laughed softly, placing a hand on Lucas's shoulder. "And I hear you're pretty good at soccer yourself. Maybe you'll play with me someday." Lucas's face lit up with pure joy, and Sophia felt her heart swell as she watched the two of them interact. Neymar then turned to Sophia, his expression kind. "Thank you for coming. It means a lot to me." Sophia shook her head, tears brimming in her eyes. "No, thank you. For everything. You've changed our lives in ways I can't even describe." Neymar smiled and nodded. "That's what kindness does. It changes everything." As the sun set over the stadium, Sophia and Lucas walked hand in hand, their hearts full. The day had been more than they could have ever imagined, a celebration of hope, generosity, and the power of connection. And as they left, Sophia knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with possibility and gratitude. As Sophia and Lucas made their way back home that evening, the car ride was filled with an excited buzz of conversation. Lucas could hardly sit still, his face glowing with joy as he clutched the small soccer ball Neymar had signed for him. It was more than just a memento, it was a symbol of everything the day had meant to him. "Did you hear what Neymar said, Sophie?" Lucas exclaimed, his voice full of wonder. "He said I could play with him someday. Do you think he really meant it?" Sophia laughed softly, her heart warming at the sight of her brother's pure excitement. "I think he meant every word, Lucas. And if you keep practicing the way you do, I'm sure you'll be on a field with him someday." Lucas's eyes sparkled, and he hugged the soccer ball tightly. "I'm going to work so hard, Sophie. Just wait, you'll see. I'll make you proud." "You already do," Sophia replied, leaning over to kiss the top of his head. "Every single day." By the time they arrived home, Lucas had fallen asleep in the back seat, the long day finally catching up with him. Sophia carried him inside, tucking him into bed as he murmured Neymar's name in his sleep. She watched him for a moment, her heart full to bursting. It was rare for her to feel this kind of peace, this kind of hope. For so long, life had been a struggle, a constant battle to make ends meet. But now, for the first time, the future felt bright. Sophia spent the next few days reflecting on the event and all it had brought into their lives. The messages of support and encouragement continued to pour in, not just from friends and neighbors but from strangers who had heard her story. People shared how Neymar's generosity and her humble reaction had inspired them to be kinder, more giving, and more grateful. It was humbling, and Sophia found herself wondering how she could carry forward the spirit of what Neymar had started. One evening, as she prepared dinner, Lucas approached her with a question that caught her off guard. "Sophie, do you think we could help other kids, like Neymar helped us?" Sophia paused, setting down the knife she'd been using to chop vegetables. She turned to look at her brother, his earnest expression tugging at her heart. "What do you mean, Lucas?" "Well," he said, fidgeting with the hem of his shirt, "there are kids on my team who don't have good soccer shoes or balls. They borrow stuff from coach all the time. Maybe we could help them." Sophia knelt down to his level, placing her hands gently on his shoulders. "That's a beautiful idea, Lucas. And you're right, there's a lot we could do to help. We've been so lucky, and it's only right that we share that kindness with others." Lucas beamed, his excitement bubbling over. "Can we start tomorrow? Maybe we can talk to coach and see what the team needs." Sophia laughed, her heart swelling with pride. "We'll figure it out, Lucas. But yes, let's start tomorrow." The next day, after dropping Lucas off at school, Sophia reached out to his soccer coach. She explained Lucas's idea and asked what the team needed most. The coach was touched by their generosity and shared that several of the kids came from families who couldn't afford equipment or uniforms. Inspired, Sophia began organizing a small fundraiser at the cafe. With Jamie's help, she set up a donation jar and shared their plan with the regular customers. Word spread quickly, and within days, the jar was overflowing with contributions. Sophia was amazed by the outpouring of support, and Lucas was thrilled when they used the money to buy new cleats, balls, and jerseys for the team. On the day they delivered the supplies, Lucas was practically bouncing with excitement. He watched as his teammates opened the boxes, their faces lighting up with joy and disbelief. One boy, whose shoes had been held together with duct tape, hugged Lucas tightly and said, "Thank you. This is the best thing ever." Lucas beamed, his pride evident. "It's not just me," he said. "It's Sophie too. And Neymar. He started it all." Hearing her brother's words, Sophia felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. Neymar's act of kindness had set off a chain reaction, creating ripples that extended far beyond their little family. And in that moment, she knew she wanted to do even more. Sophia began looking into ways to support the broader community. She learned about local organizations that provided after-school programs for kids, food pantries for families in need, and scholarships for young athletes. With the momentum from their initial fundraiser, she and Lucas decided to host a charity soccer game, inviting the entire community to participate. The game was a resounding success. Families came out in droves, filling the stands and cheering as local kids took to the field. The cafe donated snacks, and Sophia even convinced a few small businesses to sponsor the event. By the end of the day, they had raised enough money to fund soccer equipment for several local teams and support an after-school tutoring program. As Sophia stood on the field, watching Lucas laugh and play with his friends, she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Life had changed in ways she could never have imagined, and it was all because of one man's simple, selfless gesture. Later that evening, as she tucked Lucas into bed, he looked up at her with wide, sleepy eyes. "Sophie, do you think Neymar knows what we're doing?" Sophia smiled, brushing a curl from his forehead. "I think he does, Lucas. And I think he'd be really proud of you." Lucas grinned, his eyelids drooping as he drifted off to sleep. Sophia sat by his bedside for a while, her heart full. She thought about Neymar, about the quiet humility he had shown that night in the cafe, and about how his kindness had inspired her and Lucas to give back. Sophia knew she might never see him again, but she also knew she didn't need to. His impact was already woven into the fabric of their lives, a reminder of the incredible power of compassion. And as she turned off the light and closed the door to Lucas's room, she made a silent promise to carry that spirit forward, every day. Neymar's kindness had given her so much more than financial relief. It had given her hope, purpose, and a renewed faith in the goodness of people. And for that, she would always be grateful.